A heartfelt plea. Little girl asks female CEO for just one day. What happened next is amazing. Lily sat at her small desk, the late afternoon sun filtering through the curtains, illuminating the hastily written letter clutched in her trembling hands. Her heart raced as she thought of the powerful tech CEO, Claire. Would she even care about a 10-year-old's plea? Her mind spun with doubt, a whirlwind of fears like a storm brewing inside her. What if Claire never opened the letter? What if she did but thought Lily was just another kid with a dream? But she had to try. Those dreams, deep and fierce, kept her going through their struggles. She took a deep breath, pressing her pencil tip to the page. "Dear Miss Claire, I want to learn from you." The words spilled out, full of hope and admiration. Days turned into weeks, and the world outside Lily's window grew dull as her anticipation built. It perplexed her mother to see her daughter so restless. They were always on the edge of their financial struggles, yet Lily's spirit sparked like a small flame ready to ignite. Then the unexpected came. The letter slipped through their mailbox, and it wasn't just junk. Claire had written back. Lily's heart soared and plummeted simultaneously. What if Claire had seen right through her, seen that she was just a girl from a small town? Those fears gnawed at her. She almost folded the letter back into the envelope, the stakes feeling higher than ever. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The day finally arrived. As she stepped into the gleaming tech headquarters, her wide eyes drank in the marvels of everything around her. The sleek machines, the busy employees, and that vibrant energy buzzing in the air enveloped her. But suddenly a wave of panic surged as frantic voices around her. Claire's company was in turmoil, facing accusations that their latest product betrayed the trust of its users. The tension in the office felt tangible, wrapping around her like a heavy fog. Amid the whirlwind of panicked adults, Lily found herself rooted in place, her small stature feeling even smaller. A knot tightened in her stomach. This was not how she envisioned her day. She felt the weight of everyone's anxiety crushing her. But then a thought pierced through her distress. This was a chance to uplift those voices lost in shouting. With innocence and audacity, she began to ask questions, razor-sharp inquiries about ethics, about the responsibility they carried for people like her mother, who fought daily for what little they had. Each question she posed seemed to resonate like a pebble dropped into a pond, creating ripples of contemplation among the adult professionals. As they grappled with her perspective, a flicker of hope intertwined with her fear. Yet, as Claire struggled to maintain her composure in the middle of the unfolding crisis, the tension mounted around her, leaving both women suspended in anxiety. Could this day, once filled with dreams, slip into a nightmare? Would Claire succumb to the pressure of profit over principle, or would she embrace the truth revealed by this spirited girl? The possible answers loomed heavily before them both. As Lily locked eyes with Claire, their fates intertwined in that charged moment. Neither knew that the real journey, the one that could transform everything, was only just beginning. Both women stood at the precipice of an uncharted territory. A cacophony of stressed voices clashed around them, yet in that charged silence, a new strength ignited within Lily. She sensed the weight of responsibility shifting, not just onto Claire, but onto herself as well. Between them, uncertainty transformed into a palpable courage that demanded action. "Miss Claire," she finally broke through the noise, her voice cutting with a clarity that belied her age. "What if we make a choice? What if, instead of responding with just a product, we told the truth about what happened?" The words hung in the air like a beacon, directed not only at Claire, but aimed at the whole company, caught up in its own chaotic storm. Claire paused, caught off guard by the young girl's boldness. Was this 10-year-old truly suggesting transparency? It was a radical idea within the slick world of marketing and profits. Doubt crept into Claire's mind, a flicker of hesitation that threatened to cloud judgment. What if the public didn't respond well? What if they lost everything? But, contrasting that fear, the glimmer of trust Lily had in her shone through, compelling Claire to reconsider how their company defined itself. "Lily, trust is built through honesty," Claire murmured, but her eyes searched the room, scanning the reactions of her staff. Some appeared gripped by skepticism, others intrigued. It was evident that the collective response hung on her ability to lead them through this tempest. A tidal wave of ideas surged within Lily. She had not come here to merely observe. She had stepped into the office of her idol to light a path forward. "If we ask for questions," she charged on, "people feel involved. They'll see we care. Isn't that what matters?" Her hands gripped the edge of the table, and with a sudden burst of determination, she stood taller, shedding her smallness. Claire could feel the air shifting. "All right," she said slowly, her voice gaining strength. "Let's hold a meeting. Lily, I want you to help me." The initial shockwaves of her words blasted through the office, gasps and whispers exchanged between the employees. The tension was shifting. Perhaps they were moving from a place of defense to one of resolution. With her heart pounding in sync with her advocacy, Lily felt a rush of adrenaline as decisions took shape. In that moment, she wasn't merely a child envisioning a brighter future, but a catalyst for action. She could hear her own voice, soft yet unwavering, leading a discussion toward clarity and accountability. "You can't be afraid of what might happen," she urged Claire during a brief side conversation. "The world has enough shadows. We need to step into the light." A spark ignited in Claire's mind, lifting the weight of their combined fears. This child had a perspective that had been lost amidst profit margins and market strategies. Suddenly, Lily grasped how crucial her role had become. Not only was she advocating for her beliefs, but she was pushing this powerful woman toward reclaiming her company's integrity. As the meeting began, Lily's nerves corroded into deep-seated determination. Each question she posed to her peers blossomed into a profound conversation about purpose and ethics. With each nod of understanding, she could almost feel the atmosphere clearing. Yet, in the whirlwind of unfolding discussions, a darker thought emerged. What if the change wouldn't be enough? What if the backlash was so severe that it overshadowed their efforts? As they prepared to address the world, Lily could sense a looming presence, the antagonist of fear. Claire faced it head-on, but it would take all their combined resolve to emerge into the clarity beyond. Despite the doubts nagging at Lily's conscience, she leaned into her thoughts, preparing her voice for the next challenge ahead. What would be the outcome of their bold choice? Did they have what it takes to redefine their course? For the first time, she dared to wonder if she could truly make a difference. As they prepared to step out, the stakes peaked. Little did Lily know that her greatest trial of faith was about to unfold. The moment of truth beckoned, and uncertainty lingered, thick and palpable in the air. In the stillness following their decision to pursue honesty, Claire stood at the epicenter of a storm, not just as a CEO, but as a leader wrestling with her own demons. Next to her, Lily was a beacon of youthful passion, fist clenched and ready to take on the world. That initial spark surged between them like an electric current, propelling them forward into the unknown. As the team gathered for the meeting, Claire felt the weight of her responsibilities settle upon her shoulders. Though she had navigated a turbulent corporate world for years, never had she faced such a defining crossroads influenced by a child's perspective. What if this leap into transparency jeopardized everything? Doubt festered in her mind, but each determined glance from Lily eroded her uncertainty. "Everyone," Claire began, her voice steady as she held up her hand for silence, "today we're going to discuss truth, what it means to us as a company, and how we can learn from our failures." With a quick glance at Lily, she saw her enthusiasm reflected in the eager faces around the room. Encouragement welled within her. Lily, little yet indomitable, stepped forward. People want to know they matter. If we tell them what happened and invite them to share their thoughts, maybe we'll find a way back. She could feel the crackling of anticipation rising from the attendees. They were waiting for her to lead them. Taking a deep breath, Claire motioned for Lily to take the floor. "Go ahead, Lily. Share your idea." Encouraged, Lily felt the warmth of validation. The faintest tremble in her hands became iron resolve as she took the lead amid the adults. She proposed breaking into smaller groups to brainstorm how best to communicate their message with authenticity. Each segment sparked discussion, ideas flowing freely like a brook after the spring thaw. Observing their engagement, Claire marveled at Lily's impact. These conversations, once poisoned by fear, transformed into discussions of hope and integrity. Amidst the jubilation, however, the shadow of dread loomed larger. What if this candid approach resulted in backlash? Claire's mind cascaded into a spiral, each thought ricocheting off her increasing anxiety. Lily's fearless vision became a double-edged sword, slicing through corporate norms while simultaneously endangering their livelihoods. Quietly, she pulled Claire aside after the brainstorming session. "Miss Claire, what if they don't take it well? What if we end up losing everything?" Fear shared in hushed tones passed between them like electricity. Claire turned to Lily, recognizing their unspoken bond. "Can we afford to keep hiding? The truth has a power we don't yet grasp. It can alienate us or bring us closer. It's a risk." "Yes, but every great story starts with a risk, doesn't it?" Lily challenged softly, injecting daring into the gravity of their conversation. "Maybe this is our story, a truthful one that inspires people. Isn't that worth the chance?" Claire contemplated the truth in Lily's words. The child embodied everything she had once cherished, a sense of purpose untouched by the ease of conformity. Returning to the larger group, they halted discussions that had taken shape while Claire had been grappling internally. Instead of pushing ahead with safe marketing tactics, they would unveil the situation for what it was, potentially allowing the public to engage with their narrative on a human level. As the meeting reached closure, the room buzzed energetically, yet Claire could sense the churning tides of apprehension. Would the world embrace their unvarnished honesty or lash out at their vulnerability? The time for defense had passed. Now was the moment of revelation. When the CEO and the girl stood together on the precipice of corporate honesty, a fragile hope filled the air. It was their birth into a new chapter. But the echo of skepticism reverberated as they prepared to broadcast their message. Could they survive the hurricane of public sentiment? The moment loomed. With each passing second, a decision weighed heavily on the cusp of clarity, enhancing the urgency of their undertaking. The world was listening, and they were on the brink of a reckoning that could either elevate them or plunge them into obscurity. Just as Claire opened her mouth to present their daring message, Lily noticed something shifting nearby, a figure lurking in the shadows, a lingering reminder that not all battles are fought above ground. She gripped Claire's arm, heart racing. Who was it, and did they pose a threat to everything they had invoked? The stakes rose as uncertainty blurred the outline of their ambition. Fear pulsed through Claire like an uninvited current. The ambiance shifted, charged with the unexpected presence that loomed just beyond the bright conference room. Claire's determination wavered for a split second, crumbling at the edges under the weight of uncertainty. She noticed Lily's grip tighten, customizing the measure of her courage into tangible anxiety. "Stay focused," Claire murmured, synthesizing her resolve. The rhythmic tapping of her heart fueled her mind. She steeled herself. What could one shadow mean amid an ocean of light? With instinct honed through years of facing aggressive competitors, she narrowed her focus to the task ahead. But the presence demanded attention, unraveling the bold threads of her plans. "We need to continue," Claire said, her voice a low whisper weaving through the room. "This is bigger than us." Lily nodded, her youthful energy momentarily flickering, yet the spark remained alive. They both stood at the forefront of professional truth, yet the need to confront their fears became paramount. Courage needed to be more than a motivator. It had to transition into action. As the team awaited Claire's words, she steadied her breath. We're choosing authenticity. We're acknowledging our missteps and allowing our audience to join us on this unexpected journey. Together, we will find our way back. We will make this right. The murmurs of apprehension rippled across the room. Eyes widened. The palpable tension signified a delicate truce between fear and possibility. Claire felt a surge, setting her heartbeat to the tempo of collective hope. Lily stepped closer, emboldened. What if we turn this into an opportunity? Let's ask for more feedback, more engagement. People will surprise us. The glimmer in her eyes reminded Claire of uncharted valleys just waiting for a brave explorer. But the shadow, Claire's resolve weakened momentarily. We can't ignore what's lurking out there. What if it's an attack? Then we face it together, Lily insisted, her voice unwavering. We prepare ourselves, not just to communicate, but to endure, to embrace the truth even in the face of adversity. Claire absorbed Lily's words, resonating with her passion. Fear wasn't simply a terrifying weight, it could be a catalyst for change. Darkness and light could coexist to foster potential. Grit surged within her bones. She was not only a CEO, but an architect of their narrative. Let's draft our disclosure, transparency and honesty, but also a path to recovery that everyone we can understand. The room exploded in discussion, emotions mixing with raw ideas swirling like leaves caught in a gust. Amidst their newfound dialogue, Claire once more felt the shadow behind her, a whisper of dread she endeavored to fuel into determination. Moments later, she awoke with clarity. They needed more than just a path. They had to truly engage their audience. She raised her hand again, quieting the room. I propose we hold a town hall, a direct conversation where we can face this vulnerability openly. The atmosphere shifted. Hushed anticipation filled the space. Eyes darted among colleagues. A questioning search for consensus flared amidst the reality of fear. But what if they backlash? Came a voice from the back. This isn't just about us, not anymore, Claire began, addressing their shared anxiety. Every moment we pivot into honesty, we give others the tools to confront their own challenges. This is a communal story now, not singular. The words ignited embers of hope. A consensus began to brew. Ideas blossomed out of the delicate air, but Claire's gaze caught on the darker figure. Had they sensed the shift in momentum? Keep talking, Lily encouraged, turning back to the team, but let's also prepare answers for questions we haven't faced yet. We need to brace ourselves against any potential storm. Claire found herself appreciating Lily's maturity. She truly embodied aspects of a leader. Yet uncertainty clouded her spirit. Could they truly withstand judgment? The enormity of their mission hung above them, a weight of possible humiliation balanced against the antidote of true redemption. The door swung ajar, and a figure stepped into the light. An unexpected ally or a metaphorical storm? Claire's breath caught the moment they laid eyes on the presence. The threat had manifested, ready to set the stage for an impending confrontation. The stakes had altered. Now, alongside the public scrutiny, Claire faced an unseen adversary lurking in the wake of her boldness. The confrontation had arrived. The air thickened as Claire's gaze locked onto the figure at the door. Tension rippled through the room, punctuated by the murmurs of her colleagues, their breaths held in suspense. It was as if the presence had the power to freeze time itself, forcing Claire to confront not just the physical manifestation of threat, but the storm that brewed within her. Taking a deliberate step forward, Claire summoned the remnants of her confidence, recalling the importance of every breath she took. This was her moment, to transform fear into opportunity. As Edgar stood at the threshold, his familiar features contorted into a study of disapproval, she felt an unexpected swell of sympathy. He wasn't just a rival, he represented the very insecurities that gnawed at her resolve. "What's this all about?" he asked, his voice cold, slicing through the charged atmosphere. Claire's heart raced, but she had no time for hesitation. "We're redefining our approach. We're choosing transparency and accountability," she asserted, meeting his scrutinizing gaze with fierce determination. The authenticity she had spoken of earlier began to take root, igniting a sense of purpose as she recognized this moment as a defining point in her leadership. "You think that's wise?" Edgar questioned, his eyebrows arched, skepticism dripping from his tone. "Your team is in shambles, and you want to throw a town hall? You think they'll rally behind a sinking ship?" Her instincts flared. He was preying on her deepest fears, yet she wouldn't relent. "I'm choosing to confront our shortcomings rather than hide them. We believe in rebuilding trust, not just for ourselves, but for everyone affected by our misjudgments. You, of all people, should understand the importance of vulnerability in leadership." Lily jumped in to support Claire. "We're creating a platform for growth, Edgar, not just for the company, but for all of us. This isn't about being perfect, it's about embracing our humanity." Edgar crossed his arms, unfazed. "You both have guts, I'll give you that, but guts alone won't save your reputation." "Maybe," Claire responded, her voice steadier than she felt. Each word became a stepping stone towards self-discovery, unlocking areas of resilience she hadn't known existed. "But if we don't take this step, what will we be? Just another company that crumbles under scrutiny? I refuse to be that." The room buzzed with a newfound tension, the murmurs shifting from fear to curiosity as others listened closely. Claire realized the power of her words. They were more than a defense, they were an awakening. Each colleague's eye flickered with concern, yet also a bolt of hope. She saw something reflected back at her, strength in unity through shared vulnerability. "Courage isn't a lack of fear," she continued, the urgency fueling each syllable. "It's acting in spite of it. I've struggled, yes, but I've learned that we can emerge stronger if we embrace these challenges together, not just as individuals, but as a team." Lily nodded, emboldened by Claire's conviction. The shared question of judgment lingered, but the willingness to face it head-on began to transform uncertainty into excitement. "Will you support us?" Claire asked Edgar, her voice a plea veiled in authority. "This is an opportunity for change, for everyone." Edgar's expression shifted, revealing a crack in his facade of skepticism. He opened his mouth, but before he could respond, the door clicked again, opening to reveal another uninvited figure. The disruption pulled the attention away from Claire just as she felt momentum shifting in her favor. The new presence wasn't just another challenge. It was a reminder that the shadows were far more significant than singular fears. Claire's heart sank as realization dawned. No matter how she prepared, uncertainty would always be an adversary lurking in the wings. "Who is it this time?" Lily whispered, unnerved. As the figure stepped fully into the room, Claire understood this was not simply another opponent. It was the embodiment of everything she had fought against and everything that lay before her. Claire found herself face to face with a familiar rival, but more importantly, her past. How she handled this unexpected encounter could redefine everything. Would she maintain her stand or let fear dictate her next move? The narrative of her leadership awaited a turning point, and the shadows had increased. Her moment of truth had arrived. The moment the new figure emerged from the shadows, Claire's breath caught in her throat. It was Jenna, her former mentor, someone who had once filled her with inspiration, but whose unexpected departure from the company had left Claire feeling adrift. The very person who had cultivated her passion for leadership now stood before her as a challenge, an embodiment of the very expectations Claire was striving to transform. "What are you doing here, Jenna?" Claire asked, striving to maintain a composed demeanor. Her heart raced, not just from surprise, but from the turmoil of revisiting her past and the vulnerabilities associated with it. Jenna's presence felt almost accusatory, as if questioning Claire's worthiness to lead. "I came to check on the state of the ship," Jenna replied, a hint of sarcasm lacing her tone. "I see not much has changed since I left." The familiar sting of her mentor's critical gaze pierced through Claire, prompting an internal battle between insecurity and determination. She had worked hard to carve her path, yet here stood Jenna, formidable, dissecting every decision as if Claire were still a fledgling in a world where careful navigation mattered most. "I'm restructuring our approach," Claire asserted, trying to rally her voice against the undertow of self-doubt. "We're embracing transparency, focus on accountability, and redefining our values as a company." Jenna raised an eyebrow, but the corner of her mouth quirked upward in intrigue. "And you think honesty will magically realign everything? Last I checked, you had a team on the verge of collapse. What's so special about this new strategy that you think it'll work?" Claire felt the scrutiny of everyone in the room, a testament to the weight of expectations pulling her backward. The very faces that once looked up to her now mirrored Jenna's skepticism. The pressure mounted, but beneath it there simmered the seed of resilience that had begun to take root when she first confronted Edgar. "What I think is that we've stumbled, but that doesn't mean we can't get back up," Claire said, her voice stronger now. "We can face our fears together. We can grow and learn from this, but it requires all of us, every member of this team. I refuse to shy away from our challenges, and I won't let that urge dictate my decisions." Jenna's expression softened, revealing flickers of recognition. It was a revelation, not simply an acknowledgement of Claire's words, but of her growth. The mentor might have arrived with the intent of critique, but Claire sensed a shift. Perhaps Jenna saw in her a reflection of what she once aspired to be: bold, unyielding, and open to change. "I admire your ambition, Claire," Jenna admitted, her tone shifting from adversarial to contemplative. "But ambition isn't enough when the ship is taking on water. Self-awareness is key. Do you truly understand the depth of the issues you face?" Claire hesitated, grappling with the weight of Jenna's words. Was she fully aware, or was she still grappling with her own uncertainties? Perhaps the essential lesson was understanding that self-awareness wasn't about knowing every answer, but acknowledging the space for growth. "Maybe I don't have all the answers," Claire replied earnestly, meeting Jenna's gaze directly. "But I'm here to listen and learn from my team and those I can trust. That's where the real journey begins." This was a turning point, not just in the conversation, but within Claire herself. She had started to articulate her stake in this narrative, not as a mere reflection of everyone around her, but as a leader in her own right. Just as Jenna seemed poised to respond, a loud crash came from the meeting room's entrance. All heads turned, and Claire's pulse quickened again. What intrusion could disrupt this fragile moment of understanding? Her heart raced, not just from the chaos, but from the realization that her journey was far from over. New challenges awaited, and she was ready to confront them. How she navigated the turmoil unfolding before her could change everything. Claire braced herself, knowing she was closer than ever to embracing her role in this complex dance of leadership. But a sizable test loomed ahead. What would this new disruption unveil? Would the truth empower her, or would it lay bare her deepest vulnerabilities? As the sound reverberated through the conference room, Claire's focus snapped to the entrance. There, amid scattered papers and startled gazes, stood a young girl, no older than 10, with wide, pleading eyes. Her hair was tied tightly back, a stark contrast to the turmoil she had just interrupted. Silence descended, thick with uncertainty. The girl took a cautious step forward. "Excuse me, everyone. I'm looking for Miss Claire Thompson." Her voice trembled slightly, but remained determined. All the attention in the room turned towards Claire, now the subject of an unexpected inquiry that starkly contrasted her carefully laid plans. Claire felt a rush of warmth mixed with confusion. "I'm here," she responded, crossing the distance between them, though the uncertainty of the moments before still lingered in the air like an uninvited guest. "Can I talk to you, just for a minute?" the girl asked, looking earnestly into Claire's eyes. A flicker of recognition sparked within Claire. Here was someone unrefined by corporate expectations, unclouded by adult insecurities. A pure embodiment of need, asking the one who led for help. Claire's heart softened immediately, and she gestured for the child to follow her aside to a quieter corner of the room. "Of course, what's on your mind?" "I know this sounds silly, but—" the girl hesitated, searching for the right words. "I want to tell you that you should never stop being brave. My teacher says you're a leader, and leaders have to be brave, even when it's hard. But today, I need you to be brave for me." Claire felt a rush of energy from the girl's sincere commitment. The profound innocence in her words cut through the doubts that had encompassed Claire during the confrontation with Jenna. In many ways, Claire realized this moment mirrored her own struggles. Here she stood, seeking validation, and this child was asking for strength, appreciation for vulnerability. "What's troubling you?" Claire leaned closer, genuinely curious. The girl's eyes drooped slightly. "I don't like to see anyone being mean to each other. My friends sometimes say hurtful things, and when I try to speak up, they laugh at me. It hurts so much. Can you tell me what to do so I can be brave too?" Claire felt a tightness in her chest, but also a rush of clarity washing over her. It was as if the girl had stripped away the layers of performance Claire had put on, leaving only her raw desire to lead, not just as a manager, but as an empathetic figure in the community. Being brave isn't about not being afraid. It's about facing those fears together, just like I'm learning to do at work, Claire replied, her voice steady. Sometimes you just have to speak your truth. You could start by sharing how their words make you feel. The best leaders listen, and it's okay to ask to be heard too. The girl nodded, her eyes brightening. "Do you think I could really do that?" "Yes, you have to believe in yourself. Be your own leader. And if they don't listen, it's their loss. I wish I had someone like you teaching me that when I was younger." Claire's affirmation infused new energy into the young girl. The moment felt electric, revitalizing Claire's outlook on her leadership. It was a poignant reminder that while she was responsible for guiding her team, the journey began with understanding oneself and recognizing that vulnerability could yield strength. As the girl beamed with renewed confidence, Claire's thoughts swirled. This brief encounter was perhaps a crucial turning point, not only for the girl, but also for her. She had ingrained within her a new perspective on her role, one that bridged authenticity with leadership. Just as the girl turned to leave, she paused, searching Claire's face. "Will you remember this talk? Will you stay brave?" The question hung in the air, echoing deep within Claire, igniting the very essence of her ongoing struggles. Claire smiled warmly. "Always, and you do the same. Keep being brave. We all need you to." With that, the girl stepped back into the realm from which she emerged, leaving behind a wave of clarity for Claire. However, the lingering uncertainty of the disruption echoed in her mind as unseen obstacles coiled around in the shadows. It was evident that newfound bravery came with its own lessons to navigate, lessons yet to unfold amid her leadership journey. Would this encounter stir the dormant parts of her leadership style? Would it serve as a barren seed, urging her to embrace authenticity in the face of growing challenges ahead? Each revelation seemed to pull Claire closer to pivotal decisions that awaited her attention, and anticipation began to bubble once again. What new obstacles or crossroads lay ahead, waiting to challenge her newfound resolve? Claire's mind swirled as she returned to her seat, wrestling with the weight of the girl's words. The boardroom buzzed back to life, the air heavy with the remnants of the interruption, but Claire felt oddly detached. She was back in the same space, surrounded by the same people who had clashed moments ago, yet she had changed. Somehow, she was different. Before the meeting resumed, she took a deep breath and steadied herself, the little girl's plea still echoing in her heart. How often had she been in the position of needing to speak her truth, to advocate for herself? Yet here she was, despite her title and status, caught in a web of insecurities and external pressures, much like the girl who had just approached her. With a renewed resolve, Claire re-engaged with the present. As she listened to her colleagues debate the upcoming strategy revisions, she contemplated how to inject more of her authentic self into her leadership. How could she cultivate an environment where vulnerability was welcomed? It was clear to her now that bravery was not merely a directive, but a shared experience. The debate shifted to budget cuts, and Jenna was quick to press her point. "We need to tighten our belts, not waste resources on feel-good initiatives," she declared, an edge to her voice that matched her uncompromising demeanor. An unwelcome chill ran through the room. Claire felt the urge to speak out, to redirect the conversation toward collaboration, yet she hesitated, the fear of conflict trapping her. Was this fear an echo of her past confrontations, or was it the nagging concern of not wanting to appear weak in front of her peers? Determined not to cede ground, Claire raised her hand. "While I completely understand the need to control our costs, I believe we might be missing an opportunity here. We need to invest in our people if we want to see growth. Perhaps we should consider training programs to improve team dynamics rather than cutting successful initiatives." A murmur of surprise rippled through the room, and Jenna's eyes narrowed. This was the moment Claire had to decide. Was she ready to take risks? Several sets of eyes turned to her, and she felt the weight of their expectations. "You really think spending more on our team will lead to better results?" Jenna questioned, skepticism lacing her tone. "I do. Empowering our people can foster loyalty and drive productivity. The benefits will outweigh the costs in the long run." Claire's voice was steadier this time. She caught a glimpse of approval from a couple of her peers, and it fueled her confidence. "You're putting a lot of faith in intangible returns," Jenna argued, crossing her arms defensively. "Maybe they aren't as intangible as we think," Claire replied, her heart racing as she sensed tension building. What if this resulted in a confrontation? But wasn't that the essence of leadership? Not just to be seen, but also to be heard, authentically and unapologetically? The discussion continued, but Claire felt an empowering shift with each word. Instead of retreating behind consensus, she repositioned her thoughts, strategically using the insights gained from her interaction with the girl. If she wanted to lead with empathy, she had to accept that not everyone would agree with her. As tensions lingered, Claire's mind flickered back to the young girl. She thought about the strength it must have required for that child to stand in front of a room full of adults, risking laughter and judgment. Claire didn't want to be afraid anymore. She wanted to embody that kind of courage. Ultimately, the meeting concluded without a resolution to her proposal, but the storm inside Claire settled slightly. She realized confronting challenges, no matter how daunting, was necessary for growth, both hers and her team's. Yet perhaps the lingering conflict with Jenna foreshadowed even greater challenges ahead. Claire needed to confront the underlying issues, not just the surface rifts. As her colleagues departed, she lingered, an unsettling thought gnawing at her. The next time Jenna pushed back, would she have the courage to face the conflict head-on? In that moment of contemplation, the door swung open, revealing a familiar face. Jenna stepped inside, eyes fixed on Claire with a mixture of irritation and intrigue. "Can we talk?" The weight of the discussion to come settled over Claire like a heavy curtain drawn shut. Here it was, the confrontation she had been avoiding. Would this be an opportunity to solidify her resolve or undermine her progress? Would she be brave enough to face Jenna, not just as an adversary, but as a potential ally? The confrontation loomed, and Claire felt the tremors of anticipation course through her. She couldn't back down now. The moment of truth was here. Jenna shut the door with a soft click, sealing them in. Claire felt her heart race, each beat amplifying the palpable tension in the room. She looked up at Jenna, who stood with arms crossed, a fortress of defensive posturing. Confident exteriors often masked personal stakes, and Claire sensed that Jenna was bracing for a battle rather than a dialogue. "Why do you think pushing for training is the right move?" Jenna asked, her tone framing the question as a challenge rather than an invitation for discussion. Claire took a moment, drawing in a steadying breath. The little girl's request echoed in her mind, the strength to speak one's truth no matter the consequences. Because a well-trained team is an invested team. We can't keep cutting corners and expect people to stay motivated or engaged. If we only focus on budgets, we risk missing out on potential growth and innovation. Jenna's expression mirrored skepticism. But Claire refused to let the doubt deter her. Instead, she leaned forward slightly, channeling her own inner strength. "I've seen what happens in organizations that don't prioritize their people. They stagnate. It's not just about the numbers, it's about quality of work and the health of the workplace culture. We want our team to thrive, not just survive." "Isn't that a bit idealistic?" Jenna shot back, her posture unwavering. "This is a business, Claire. We have to think practically. Investing might sound nice, but what tangible benefit can you point to?" Claire felt the familiar sting of self-doubt creep in, testing her resolve. But what had she learned? Vulnerability could lead to strength if approached correctly. Let me ask you this. Have you ever experienced a day at work where you just felt acknowledged, appreciated? How did that make you feel? What if we could create that for everyone on our team? The question hung in the air, and Jenna surprised Claire by pausing, her brows gently knitting together in thought. This was the first crack in her defiance, but Claire knew better than to rush in. Instead of pressing, she let the silence do the work for her. Jenna finally broke the stillness. "I get that, but idealism doesn't pay the bills. What if we fall short?" "Isn't falling short in pursuit of something greater better than never trying?" Claire rebutted gently. "Nothing is guaranteed, but we can increase our chances by trusting our people. We can empower them to innovate. Isn't that what we want?" A flicker of contemplation crossed Jenna's face, but Claire understood that resistance came from more than professional ambition. It was likely tied to deeper fears, of being perceived as weak, of failing as a leader. In that moment, Claire felt a pang of empathy for her colleague. This wasn't just about a proposal, it was about unraveling the guarded personas they each wore. But clarity struck her too. Jenna wasn't her enemy. She was a reflection of her own fears and expectations. This realization shifted the way Claire perceived the confrontation. Rather than an adversarial dance, this was an opportunity for collaboration, understanding, and growth. Encouraged by her own insight, Claire pushed a little harder. What if, instead of viewing this as a risk, we see it as an investment in our leadership? If we're going to lead, we need to model the behavior we want to see. Exploring new ideas, embracing vulnerability, and trusting each other to elevate the process. Jenna's posture relaxed, just a fraction. "I want the best too, Claire. I just need to see the practical implications." Claire took a step back, allowing Jenna room to process. She understood that change wouldn't happen overnight, but every interaction was a step toward building a more open, supportive environment. As they continued their conversation, Claire felt a surge of determination within her. She wasn't just advocating for a proposal, she was advocating for an ethos of collaboration and trust. The time for authentic leadership was now. Now, and the roots of change could begin right here, right now. With renewed energy, Claire suddenly thought of the little girl again. She smiled softly, realizing how much was still at stake, not just for herself or even for Jenna, but for the whole team that awaited their decisions. That realization sparked an idea in her mind. "You know, Jenna, we could even run a team retreat, foster connection outside of the office. It might lighten the atmosphere while giving everyone a voice. For the first time, Jenna's eyes sparkled with intrigue. A retreat, huh? That could actually work. Claire's heart surged. They might be at the very start of a shift that could redefine their workplace. But as she pressed forward, battling her own fears while igniting a flicker of hope in Jenna, she realized they stood on the cusp of something much larger. Yet, just as clarity began to emerge, Jenna's phone buzzed urgently on the table. Claire's heartbeat quickened again. What if this interruption changed everything? Would Jenna's hesitation dissipate, or would it eclipse the progress they had made? As Claire glanced at the phone, anxiety knotted in her stomach. The moment of truth was still hanging in the balance. What revelation loomed beyond that buzzing screen? The buzzing screen illuminated Jenna's face, an expression of trepidation washing over her. She glanced at the message, and uncertainty flashed in her eyes. Claire could see the weight of whatever it was pulled Jenna back into a realm of apprehension, threatening to dissolve the momentum they had built just moments before. "What is it?" Claire asked, her curiosity mingled with concern. This trajectory was nearing a critical threshold. They were finally bridging the gap of understanding. It's from the board," Jenna stammered, looking bewildered as she absorbed the reality of the unexpected news. "We have a situation. They're not pleased with our approach to transparency. They want results before we consider any new strategies." Claire felt the sharp sting of challenges returning, like a cold wind slicing through the warmth of their conversation. The shadows had returned, looming larger than before. Jenna's eyes, initially filled with intrigue, now mirrored the apprehension Claire had felt for much of her career. Would they continue to allow fear to dictate their actions? The thought sat uneasily in her stomach. But she pushed it aside, fueled by the conviction she had embraced during their earlier dialogue. "This is exactly why we need to consider engagement," Claire urged, drawing closer. "People will see us taking this leap. They will respond to our honesty. I believe that." Jenna's expression shifted slightly as she mulled over Claire's words, but the unease still held her in a vice grip. As if sensing the tension, Claire reached deeper into her resolve. "We can either be paralyzed by this uncertainty, or we can confront it head-on. Think of the little girl out there. She may not have all the answers, but she embodies a truth we can't ignore. We need to trust in our journey and be willing to face whatever lies ahead." Jenna studied Claire, her expression softening momentarily. "You're right. We can't let fear make our decisions for us. But it's a risk, not just for us. I understand. But if we keep playing it safe, we'll never know what we can achieve. The antidote to fear is trust, in ourselves, our vision, our people. This wasn't just a request for management. It is a promise to foster a transparent, ethical environment," Claire stated firmly. "The motivational return is greater than the risk." Jenna sighed, the initial rigidity in her shoulders loosening. "Maybe we need to embrace this as the turning point it can be. No more hiding. Let's really lean into bringing the team along." Rejuvenated by their collaborative solution, Claire found herself tethered to an exhilarating wave of newfound confidence. Here, amid the turbulence of their circumstances, she felt more decisive than ever. They still had choices to make, but decisions now brimming with possibility were within reach. "That's the spirit. I can't predict the future, but I believe in our intent. We owe it to our team to offer them a chance to engage directly," Claire insisted, as Jenna returned to the present moment, her hesitance fading like mist. "And perhaps we should develop a communication plan that anticipates the potential pushback. If we can address concerns proactively, we might not just mitigate negative reactions, but we could actually galvanize people's support." Claire beamed. Jenna's resurgence offered validation. "Yes, let's map out key points and explore ways to involve the team. If they have ownership, they will feel the pride of what we're building together." As the camaraderie blossomed, the earlier shadows began to shrink. They began drafting their ideas for the communication strategy, punctuating their collaboration with laughter, shared intentions, and mutual understanding. Eventually, a tangible sense of clarity materialized. The retreat could foster unity. Overarching messages related to transparency could yield the seeds of rejuvenation. In that moment, Claire felt a definitive strength rooted within her. She had faced her doubts, advocated for her beliefs, and in doing so, unveiled not just her potential as a leader, but also a renewed sense of her own authenticity. It was this dual realization that fortified her reason for fighting against adverse circumstances, not merely for herself, but for all those who followed. Just before they concluded their brainstorming session, Claire felt the swirling current of anticipation wash over her. "Jenna, I believe this journey is just beginning for us. The feedback from the team and addressing the board will be critical, but our true strength will lie in our willingness to stand together through whatever hurdles emerge." Jenna nodded, her earlier reservations giving way to optimism. "Together, indeed. We'll navigate this darkness, Claire. I think we might be on to something special here." Walking out, freshly charged with collective purpose and strength, Claire felt a driving sense of affirmation mingled with excitement. It was a far cry from where they had started. Both she and Jenna had made significant strides, and their willingness to confront vulnerability only paved the way to a brighter, more unified future. Just as she stepped onto the threshold, Claire turned back, glancing over her shoulder at Jenna, whose gaze held that flicker of newfound hope. It was the moment she realized that transformation often begins within the heart of a shared struggle, and that personal growth hinges on the courage to embrace challenges as opportunities. In the days that followed, not only did they announce their plan for transparency and the upcoming retreat, but Claire's confidence radiated throughout the company, igniting the team's spirit and drawing them closer. The board recognized her resolve, and the tide of change swept through every department, illuminating the core values that reflected their journey. The little girl's illuminating words echoed, filling Claire with the momentum to ask for more. More authenticity, more engagement, more humanity molded into their corporate culture. And as Claire stood before her team, she uttered words that resonated. The journey had begun not with the announcement, but with their willingness to embrace vulnerability and face the shadows together. Thus, cementing not just her place in the organization, but finding a voice that resonated beyond mere titles, Claire had achieved a personal and professional transformation. She demonstrated that true leadership stems from embracing authenticity while fostering courage in others. That moment became defining, not merely for Claire, but for all those around her. The call for change rippled through the corridors of their workplace, empowering not just leaders, but also nurturing advocates across every level. A harmonious chorus ringing the profound lesson: bravery lies in authenticity, in sharing truths, collectively striving to overcome challenges while embodying the very ideals they stood for. Through personal growth, commitment to transparency, and a willingness to address struggles collaboratively, Claire conquered her insecurities and propelled herself beyond. She carved a legacy within their organization, illuminating a path others would follow, all of which steered her toward a flourishing fulfillment she never thought possible. Now her success was profound, and she could finally embrace it completely. And for you, dear audience, join us on this journey of shared stories and transformation. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Seriously, it makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.